Hello everybody, it's me, Doubting Thomas. That's the new channel name, just roll with it. I thought I might give all my viewers a little treat with this short video before hopefully releasing some more meaty ones at a future date. You see, there is a particular claim that has been spread around quite a lot, and it's that Donald Trump won the 2024 election in a landslide, and that has given him a historic mandate to pass his agenda. Trump himself has repeated this claim numerous times, including during his address to a joint session of Congress earlier this year.
The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won the popular vote by big numbers.
But is this claim actually true? Well, as it happens, this claim is, like most of the things Trump says, completely full of shit. Donald Trump did win the election, both the popular vote and the Electoral College, but calling his victory a landslide is absolutely ludicrous. And no, this isn't liberal cope. The numbers don't lie. So let's actually look at the facts. In the 2024 presidential election, Donald Trump got around 77 million votes, while his opponent, Kamala Harris, got around 75 million votes. So Donald Trump won the popular vote by around 2 million votes and by a margin of 1.5%. Donald Trump didn't even win a majority of the popular vote, only getting 49.8%. And it's not even like there was a major third-party candidate siphoning votes away. Third-party candidates only accounted for 1.9% of the popular vote in 2024. So let me ask you, is that a landslide? Because it doesn't look like one to me. But let's look at some previous elections to compare. You see, Donald Trump's 77 million votes was not the most votes a presidential candidate had ever gotten. You see, in the 2020 election, Joe Biden got around 81 million votes, compared to Donald Trump's 74 million votes in that election. So in 2020, Joe Biden won the popular vote by around 7 million votes, and by a margin of 4.5%. Joe Biden's margin of victory in 2020 was 3 times higher than Donald Trump's margin of victory in 2024. And unlike Donald Trump in 2024, Joe Biden did win a majority of the popular vote in 2020 with 51.3%. Now, remind me, after the 2020 election, was MAGA talking about how Joe Biden won in a landslide and how he had a historic mandate to pass his agenda? No, of course not. Trump denied the fact that he ever lost in the first place, and his supporters stormed the Capitol in an insurrection. But let's look at some other elections for further comparisons. You know who also won the popular vote by a greater margin than Donald Trump did in this election? Hillary Clinton. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won around 66 million votes, while Trump won around 63 million votes. So Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by around 3 million votes and by a margin of 2.1%. Now remind me, after the 2016 election was held, was MAGA talking about how Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by a landslide? Of course not. Donald Trump was denying the fact that he ever lost the popular vote to begin with. But why stop there? Let's now look at the electoral campaigns of Obama. In 2012, Barack Hussein Obama won the popular vote by 5 million votes and by a 3.9% margin. So he actually did a bit worse than Biden in 2020. In 2008, however, Obama won the popular vote by 9.5 million votes and by a 7.2% margin. What this means is that Donald Trump's supposed landslide victory fell behind the Democratic candidate in all 4 of the elections beforehand. Now, some people might bring up the fact that I'm not considering the Electoral College. I mean, Donald Trump won the Electoral College by a landslide of 312 electoral votes compared to Kamala Harris's 226 electoral votes. That surpasses Joe Biden's Electoral College victory of 306 electoral votes in 2020 and Donald Trump's first Electoral College victory of 304 electoral votes back in 2016. Okay, look, even if you want to take the Electoral College into account, which you shouldn't because it's stupid and dumb and should be abolished, but even if you do want to take it into account, Donald Trump still won the Electoral College by a smaller margin than Barack Obama in 2012, when he won by 332 electoral votes, and by an even smaller margin than Barack Obama in 2008, when he won by 365 electoral votes. Now, with that said, let's get back to talking about the popular vote, because it's a much more accurate metric of popularity. You see, Donald Trump's margin of victory didn't just fall behind every Democratic candidate in all 4 of the presidential elections before 2024. It also fell behind George Bush in 2004 when he won the popular vote by 3 million votes and by a margin of 2.4%. The last time that a presidential candidate won the popular vote by a smaller margin than Trump did in 2024 was in the year 2000 when Al Gore won the popular vote by 0.5%. That was 24 years ago. And if you only look at presidents who won both the popular vote and the Electoral College, the last time that a president had a smaller popular vote mandate was Richard Nixon in the 1968 presidential election, when he beat Hubert Humphrey by only 0.7%. That was 56 years ago. You want to see what an actual landslide victory looks like? In 1984, Ronald Reagan won the popular vote by a margin of 18.2% and won 525 electoral votes compared to Walter Mondale's 13. In 1972, Richard Nixon won the popular vote by a margin of 23.2% and won 520 electoral college votes compared to George McGovern's 17. In 1964, LBJ won the popular vote by a margin of 22.6% and won 486 electoral college votes compared to Barry Goldwater's 52. Those are landslides. But why stop there? Let's look at the down-ballot races as well. In 2024, Republicans won the House by a razor-thin margin of 220 to 215 House seats. That is the smallest House majority in 94 years. The last time a political party held a smaller majority in the House was after the 1930 midterms, when Republicans controlled the House by a margin of just 218 to 216 House seats. So I hope by now you get my point. By no conceivable metric did Donald Trump win in a landslide, not even close. He barely managed to squeak by the smallest of margins. So my message in this video to any of the MAGA faithful watching is that no, Donald Trump does not have a historic mandate to remake the country in his image. That's a lie. And my message to any anti-Trump people watching would be to take heart. This was not a Mondale-Reagan scenario. I know it might seem like Trump is invincible right now, but he's not. Even with high inflation, even with a chaotic situation abroad, even with the DNC nominating an empty suit with no principles who was going around campaigning with war criminal Dick Cheney in an attempt to get Republican votes. Yeah, how well did that turn out? She won about 5% of them. Even with all of that, Trump could only manage a measly 1.5%. That's the best he can do. And it's not like things were any better for MAGA Republicans who aren't Trump. In fact, they arguably did worse than Trump himself. If you look at the Senate races, Republican Senate candidates underperformed Trump in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Arizona, in Ohio, in Nebraska, in Montana, in Texas, in Virginia, in New Jersey. In all 11 of the closest Senate elections, Republican Senate candidates underperformed compared to Trump. All of this is to say, assuming Donald Trump isn't crazy enough to try to run for a third term in 2028, which, I wouldn't put it past him, but assuming he doesn't, whatever MAGA sycophant takes his place in 2028, I suspect they are going to have a tough time of it. I mean, if Democrats nominate a candidate who is, actually good and not just the lesser of two evils again, Democrats have the potential to not just win, but to win big. This has been Doubting Thomas. Happy 4th of July.